everyone, it's Bob Perkins with AA-ISP's Inside Sales Studio. I'm super excited to bring a series of discussions with Scott Santucci. Scott, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm super excited too. I can't wait for folks to hear how we came up with this idea and get their help to make it better.
Well, look, I'm sure a lot of you know Scott. He's the founder of the explosively growing Sales Enablement Society. We've heard a lot about it. We're going to talk a little bit about it today. But Scott also is founder and president of his own firm, the Growth Enablement Ecosystem. I know, Scott, you had a past with Forrester as a researcher and the Alexander Group as a consultant. So we look forward to learning more about that as well. But look, sales enablement, right? It's kind of married together with virtual sales, digital sales, inside sales. So we're going to explore on the next few weeks about what is sales enablement. But Scott, maybe you could sort of get it started with a little bit of the backstory of how and why you founded Sales Enablement Society.
Sure. Basically what it started out as, in 2008, I started as a research director at Forrester, and we were the first organization to publish a role definition of sales enablement and started doing research there. It started growing fast then. It's in hypergrowth. The space is in hypergrowth now. And I left there to join a management consulting firm, Alexander Group, to work with sales organizations to figure out what those best practices are. And one of the things that's great at Forrester as a research company, you get to talk to lots of people. And at a management consulting company, you get to talk to only the people that you're doing the engagement for. So I missed that. And I started out, I had my own sort of religious definition of what sales enablement was coming from a researcher. I had a, kind of a big head about it. And this is the definition, sort of, putting out there.
Yeah.
But you know what? That stuff doesn't work, Bob. Our economy is changing so rapidly. Rigid definitions don't work. It doesn't create buy-in. So, in the process, try to have open conversations. So I wrote out, and you can find this online, in 2016, January 2016, I wrote out this blog. So I have Jill Rowley to thank for encouraging me to get into digital media. That's a whole different story. I wrote out this blog, basically begging for friends, and started out a local group in DC. Yeah. And we had we had 16 people show up to our first meeting, and we purposely were agendaless. And the reason that we wanted to be agendaless is that you put those two words, sales and enablement, and put them together, you probably get 3,000 different variants.
Yeah. And
we wanted to understand and be inclusive and figuring out where folks came from. So that's really the genesis. We started out as a local meetup group. And then maybe midway through 2016, people would contact me, kind of like Tyler Durden in Fight Club, right? All of a sudden, we had all these other local groups saying, hey, we want to start something there too.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge history nerd, so I just took a playbook out of the founding of our country. We had this Continental Congress where we attached it to Alexander Group Conference, and was hopeful. We invited people. This is all online. This is all through social media.
Right.
It's where I've become religious and about social media. And I was hoping to get 25 people to show up for that at a meeting, which was in Palm Beach, which is hopefully we all know is hard to get to on a Friday, the week before Thanksgiving. I was hoping that 25 people would show up. We had 100 people show up to that.
Yeah. And where are you today? I mean, you have chapters all around the world, right? Today.
Yeah. So that was the founding meeting. So our birth date technically. Yeah. So we went from colonies to being the United States.
Yeah.
On November 16th, 2016.
Wow.
And since then, one of the things that we try to do is create inside our organization sort of a design point to innovate. And one of the things we try to set up ourselves as a growth organization. So you can see this online in April. I published what our growth objectives were and everything like that. Yeah. And they're insane. So with literally we only had one chapter in November 16th. We set out a goal to have 5,000 members. We set out a goal to have 20 chapters. We set out a goal to have a conference. How do you have a conference without any money? We set out, to build some partnerships. And where are we today? We have 47 chapters, Bob. Wow. It's amazing. In 14 countries. We actually have to set up our Trinidad. We have a chapter in Trinidad. Yeah. We set them up to be sort of the hub of all of our international people because, of course, the international people don't want us to be too, American-centric.
Americanized, yeah.
We held a conference. We're having another conference this year. We had over 300 people at our first conference. Sold it out. And where we're at is we have a partnership with Selling Power. To have dedicated coverage on sales enablement. We're partnering with them on their conferences as well. Hopefully we'll build a great relationship with you guys. But our real thesis here is that the economy is changing so quickly that best practice today might not really be what you should do. And how do you figure out what the right practices are? And that's one of the themes that we're dedicated to.
And you and I are gonna dig in that. To dig into that together, right? We're just going to explore a lot of these things around. We hear sales operations, sales enablement, but look, we're gonna go down the path together, work together. We're going to leverage each other's resources. You're going to come and provide some value to our members and vice versa. So why don't we sort of cap this one interview off here with what the heck is sales enablement? Can you kind of give the viewers a definition, and then maybe we'll talk a little bit about what they can expect in future videos?
Yeah, so that's a great question. We're in an emergent role. Here's how I see it. The way that I see it is that between 2008 and where we are today, our sales models, the way that we sell is just fundamentally broken. And I think that's one of the things when we flip it around. So for all your viewers, the next video that we do, it's flipped, and I'm going to be hosting, and I'm going to be asking Bob all the questions, and I hope hopefully this pointing the right way, right?
You're good. You're good.
Okay, so over here to Bob. And I'm going to ask a lot of questions about what exactly inside sales is. What is virtual sales, right? So we need more of that clarity. But in this explosion of things not working, quota attainment is low across the board, no matter what sales organization you're into. Very few organizations are growing, organically. They're growing. So something's wrong. And basically what's happening is a lot of these people are getting tapped on the shoulder and saying, hey, Bob, X, Y, and Z is broken. Yeah. So really what I would say is sort of the nucleus of our base are directors or VPs of broken things. I have one of our members, Bob in Dallas. He calls us sort of like the land of misfit toys. I'm working on sort of rebranding that a little bit. Yeah. But that's really what it is that most of our members are being tapped on the shoulder to fix broken things. Now, here's the deal, though. Those broken things, if you go into the source of them, they're a friction point between one functional department and the sales organization. So let's think about it this way. In the human resources space, you'll have recruiting, you'll have learning and development, you'll have professional development, coaching, hiring practices, all of that. So the human resource department has a role there, but their customer is the sales organization, and there's conflict there. So what happens is when it manifests, somebody says, you know what, Bob, we're going to ask you to go to fix onboarding. And that's where you get started. But once you start pulling that thread, there's a lot of disconnect between HR and sales. Yeah. Same thing with marketing. We're talking about like playbooks, and product marketers are frustrated that salespeople don't use the playbooks, and the salespeople say the playbooks stink because the messaging isn't right. The marketing says, here's the messaging, and here's the personas, and the salespeople say that there's no such thing as a persona. Like, just have this friction there. Yeah. So there's a lack of clarity between the marketing and the sales organization. So that was the second flavor. The third flavor would be friction around the pipeline. So we've seen demand generation play there, but there's a lot so there'd be friction between marketing and sales, but there's a lot of friction between sales and finance in terms of accuracy of the forecast, and it's getting worse with the more metrics to quote unquote help that people are put on, it's suffocating. And then the third is, so that would be another area, sort of like the pipeline management. And then the fourth area would be sort of administration. So think about like, I know one company where they put in this complicated, but to them they think it's simple, quoting tool. And the salespeople, it takes some of the reps 2 days to enter all the information correctly because they have so many products they're trying to cram through.
They don't need to be selling, Scott, do they? No.
Well, that's the thing, right? If you start looking at all the administrative burden that we're putting on reps, how many fields do you have to fill out in Salesforce today?
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. And what happens, it's like, Bob, they say, hey, we're only asking you to fill out these forms. It takes 10 minutes, but it's death by 1,000 paper cuts.
Listen, I took some notes when you were speaking. HR, marketing, metrics, admin. After you host next week or whenever we air this and you pick my brain a little bit, I think, Scott, that's a perfect outline for you to take one of those a week and really, hey, what can we do to make this better? What are some best practices within those 4 areas that we can stop doing today, start doing something differently? And I think it's going to bring a lot of good feedback and value out to your community, out to the AA-ISP community as well.
And to sort of preview what I'm going to talk about next time with you.
Yeah.
So putting the management consulting hat on, in the management consulting space, the question really is about the cost of the sales force, right? So one of the driving forces behind some inside sales models is a more economic replacement to outside.
Sure.
Here's the deal. When you start having conversations like that to structure it, no one knows what the heck they're talking about on the buyer side. Like, it's obvious when I talk to somebody running inside sales, but the language that each person running it uses is different. Like, is a BDR, is that inside sales?
Yeah.
Is digital sales inside sales?
Yeah.
Is just phone banging? Is a call center inside sales?
Yeah.
What is it? And I think what I'd love to do, I think what we can work on together here, Bob, that I'm super, super excited about, is all the things that I talk about things that stand in the way of a sales organization. It would be wonderful. We can match them to very specific flavors of inside sales.
Absolutely. That's going to be a good process. I know a lot of our, especially our more senior leaders in the AISP, that's what they really keeps them up at night. That's what they spend time on, making sure they get it right and they set the right goals. You mentioned metrics, and you mentioned in the next word you said suffocating. I love that, man.
It is suffocating, man.
Yeah, no kidding. Let's I think collectively between Sales Enablement Society, AISP, you and I can agree right now that we can do a better job as leaders, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Better job in supporting and helping sales themselves do a better job. Because, I remember years ago, and we'll end it with this little thing. Years ago, I love to measure everything. And I go to my senior sales leader and I said, look at all this stuff I can measure. And he goes, Bob, the only reason you're measuring it is because you can.
Yeah.
Not because it's helping you make people better. And I kind of learned that way. I swore I'd never have more than 3 meters on my dashboard. No more than 3 for that reason. But anyway, Scott, it was great talking to you. We look forward to flipping around next week. We'll talk inside sales.
One last call out, guys. So the way that we communicate in the Sales Enablement Society right now is a lot through LinkedIn. What I'd like to call out is we had I heard from 3 of our chapter leaders that are reaching out to I'm pointing to you now, right?
Now you go the other way.
Okay, this way.
Now that's me. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. So they reached out to some of your chapter leaders. Yeah. And what I wanted to do, I'm saying to our chapter leaders, we are in the business of collaborating.
Yes.
We are not in the business of carving out space. We are not we are in the business of listening and figuring out this together.
Great.
So I'm interested. I'm going to challenge our chapter leaders. I'd love you to do it with me. If you guys get together, tell us what you guys talked about.
Yeah.
And then Bob and I will talk about it. And I really resonate with what Bob said about leadership. We need to do a better job of leading and providing more clarity about what inside sales is or sales enablement is to senior executives, CEOs, CFOs, et cetera, to give them more clarity to help elevate our respective professions. And we need to hear from you guys.
Yeah, let's do it. If you're a chapter president with the AA-ISP or Sales Enablement Society, reach out to one another. We have 70 some around the world. I'm sure we have a chapter in DC, right? Austin, San Francisco, San Diego. So chances are there's a Sales Enablement Society just waiting for you two to get connected, to collaborate. Great. Scott, thanks so much. And we'll look forward to, we're calling this the new Digi-Cast, right? It's digital. It's like a web podcast, so it's a Digi-Cast.
And you know what? He came up with it, and I love it. I was actually, we were trying to do the work on our own webinar series in the society, and I was trying to come up with a label for it, and I wanted to use Digi-Cast, but I can't do it. This is the Digi-Cast, and you can use branding credit.
All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.
Until next time, good selling and good enabling as well. Bye-bye.
Bye.